And welcome back. This is your man Warrior for an in-depth character review of the B2 Super Battle Droid. Now, he is a dark side character. He is a droid. He's a tank. And he's a separatist. Now, separatist may come into play later on down the road, but it's not something you need to worry about now. It's just a tag they added for later on. I, for the sake of this video, do have his attacks and abilities all at level 7. None of them are Omega'd, but can be. He's level 80, gear 10, which is max. He has 5 open slots for a future development, and he's a 7-star, and I have his mods done relatively well for what he is and how you need to use him. Now, he is an awesome tank. His overall rating, if you're looking for right now, is a 4-star on the Galaxy Star rating that I've created. And I know a lot of people say, ooh, he's way higher priority than a 4-star. There's just only so many characters I could put into the 5-star rating as the ones that you need to really prioritize, because man, half of these characters I want to prioritize number 1, right? They're all cool, but he's definitely a borderline 5-star, but I would put him at 4-star, and there's a bunch of reasons why he scored a little bit lower than some other characters, one of which is you've really got to be between levels 68 and 72 and have a really solid arena team before you can even unlock him. And so he's kind of a mid-game, end-game character that you've really got to, you can get someone like Lando way earlier on at a cantina and farm him up, and you can continue through your cantina battles until you get to a point where you can unlock him. And when you can, I would highly recommend prioritizing him. This is a definite character you want maxed out, developed eventually at some point for the end game for yourself. He's an awesome tank. He does great. Now, he is a non-taunting tank, so you can't taunt and have people forcefully hit him, but that's okay. He's got some amazing attacks and abilities, which make him very, very usable. Now, speaking of gearing, because I mentioned he's at max gear for me, he's average to gear. He is right at 660 purples, which is, I would say, average for the characters. He's not bad, and he's at 4 raid gear parts. Now, 3's about average, so 4 is just north of average on that, but honestly not too bad. So max gearing him out isn't horrible, but remember, you really can't get him. I said you find him at battle 6D, and that is where you're going to end up farming him. So it's going to take a little while. That's a level 72 character, and I think if you got an amazing team, you could probably do it. Clear that node at level 68 or 69, but you'd have to have a really, really solid arena team to get through that. So that's where you're going to find him. He's only farmable in that one Cantina node, although you can farm it as much as you have Cantina energy. So you can get him relatively fast if you can get up to that node. Now, he is a great character for a lot of reasons. He's a direct counter to the old meta, and he's a direct counter to the soon-to-be potentially new meta. So he's got playability and usability short-term and long-term, so that's why I recommend getting him. When I say old meta, I mean the evasion teams. There always has been a huge presence of evasion teams, and there still is on some of the shards, including mine. And so he is a direct counter to the evasion teams. I'll explain why that is, that he punishes the other team for evading. And then he also is a direct counter to the new team with the Shore Trooper, or any team with great taunting tanks such as Stormtrooper Han, because Stormtrooper Han's going to give him, turn meter when he's hit with damage, and so you want to get his taunt off. So anytime you can get the taunts away from tanks, especially teams that have 2 or more tanks, it's great. He's great for going against teams with 2 or more, going against evasion teams, going against the Shore Trooper here soon. So just a wonderful strategy character for you to have long-term on your team. And I know a lot of people that use him and play with him. I've used him for a while. When I had him on my team, I did very, very well. So let's go ahead and go into his attacks and abilities. Heavy Arms. Heavy Arms deals physical damage to a target enemy and inflicts evasion down for 2 turns. So he inflicts a negative status effect of evasion down. So just remember that. You're going to need potency for him. Okay. The evasion down for 2 turns is also nice because it lasts not once but for 2 turns, and if you're going against evasion teams, it makes it to where they are not going to evade the damage that you're trying to do. So he's great against old Ben teams because you can literally pick them apart without them dodging and evading. And this is his basic. So this is what he shoots every single time. Now he's going to shoot a lot. And so he's going to get to use this a lot, which is excellent. Mow down, and I would highly recommend, by the way, doing the Omega on all 3 of his abilities, because let's go back, his heavy arms only deals an average amount of damage. We all know tanks don't do that much damage, and then on top of that, he's just got an average rate, plus he doesn't crit a whole lot or anything like that. So he's going to hit for around 2,000 each time. That is really, really, really hard to kill somebody by doing that. Again, he's more of a support. He's not designed to do all that mass casualty damage to the other team. He's designed to ruin the other team's ability to get buffs and to take away buffs, and then your other team members are there to screw them over and damage them with heavy damage. So heavy arms is amazing, but I would eventually at some point Omega this, because it does give him plus 15% damage, and the more you can get your tanks to hit for, the better, because they're going to be in the fight the longest, shooting the other side. Mow down, you can get the cooldown reset by 1, so that's great, because then he could use this every 3 turns. And by the way, he goes a ton, and so it's going to feel like every other turn he gets to do this. So the way this works is he deals physical damage to all enemies across the board. It's an AoE, and it dispels all their positive status effects. Now that's anything that's green, any green box over their head, he takes it away, okay? And he has a 65% chance to add buff immunity for 2 turns. And so he gets to take any of the green that they have and potentially put a red over their head. And the red that he puts over their head prevents them from getting, for 2 more turns, any green boxes. So any positive status effects. So this is devastating to another team. Especially teams like rebel teams and things like that, because they're boosting all of their critical chance and giving themselves health up and just all sorts of fun stuff, and he just decimates it, takes it all away, and then prevents them from getting it. Now 65% chance means that 2 or 3 of the characters across the board are going to get this. And what's really cool is when he lays this down and it goes over a tank's head, because then the tank can't taunt even if they want to. Or if you have a healer across the way, they can heal all they want or try, but it's not going to apply the health up, over their head and stuff. So the buff immunity is excellent. It's one of the best debuffs in the game. I would say it's probably the best debuff in the game, because it prevents all buffs from occurring. So this is very, very cool. And this is a AoE mow down. So he's got his heavy arms. Relentless Barrage, though, is where it's at. This is really where he shines. His AoE is cool. It takes out all their buffs and makes it to where they can't be buffed. His basic is putting evasion down on all the other people, which is a debuff, and making them to where they can't disappear or evade or dodge. But the B2 on his Relentless Barrage, he does this all the time instantly. It's just a unique ability. He has a 35% chance, and if you Omega it, and I recommend you do it, he has a 40% chance. So 40% chance is almost half the time. So almost half of the time, he'll get an extra turn. 100% turn meter means he gets an extra turn. So he gets almost half the time another turn anytime an ally is evaded. So if you're going against any of those evasion teams, or it just happens to be the RNG on any team, they happen to evade or dodge, he is going to get potentially an extra turn and use his basic and stop it by giving evasion down to that target through his basic ability. Or anytime anyone on his team is damaged. So your team's going to be damaged every single time one of their players is going, and so you take your turns, they take their turn, and every time they're hitting you, almost half of those times, so 2, probably 3 of those times, he's going to get another turn. So he's going to get to go a ton out of turn, kind of like Princess Leia with Akbar's basic ability, or his unique ability. He gives her the ability to go out of turn a lot with other people on the team using their non-attack abilities such as healing and taunting and things like that. She gets to go and go and go. Well, he gets to go 40%, 35, 40% of the time. He's going to get a go an extra turn if somebody evades the attacks from his team or his team takes any damage. And then every time he goes, it's basically like resetting his cooldowns because he gets to go, let's say twice after, their team goes all their attacks. He'll get to go once or twice, and now he gets to do mow down all over again. So very, very cool. Relentless Barrage is amazing. His heavy arms is amazing. I would definitely omega these abilities. So let's go ahead and get into how to mod him. Now, you heard me say potency is important. He applies evasion down on his basic. He also applies buff immunity to 65% of the targets, and buff immunity is a debuff as well. So you're going to want to have his potency really high. I just had fun and did 6 potency mods sets, or 6 potency mods to create potency mod sets. So my potency bonus is 10%, and there's 3 sets. So that's 30% more potency on him. So that's pretty fun to make sure he has high potency. The first one up on the top left is the transmitter. Of course, the primary stat's always offense. The secondary stats gave him some protection, 1400 protection, almost 300 health. But look at that, 13 speed. Now, he doesn't have to be fast because he gets to go out of turn a whole lot. But there's nothing wrong with a fast B2 at all. He's not exactly a super fast character in the game. And so he's definitely one of those characters you probably will want to have a little bit faster just so he can get even more turns in than he should. So the 13 speed definitely doesn't hurt anything. And I could probably use this mod on a couple other characters, but I have it on him for the sake of today. So this potency processor, of course, the primary stat's always defense. Secondary stats, of course, again, there's some protection and some speed and some superficial tenacity. Actually, the tenacity is not bad. 4.5% tenacity. That's actually a whole lot for a secondary stat for tenacity. So that's good. On the bottom left, the data bus, it's going to be, I recommend either health or protection. Now, I did not have a potency protection mod for a primary stat, and so I went ahead and went with the health, but look at the secondary stats, over 1,100 additional health and almost 1,600 protection. So this was a really, really good mod as a secondary mod. Had I had protection, I probably would have used the protection aspect, but it also gives him a little bit of critical chance superficially as well. On the top right, I've got an accuracy mod. Now you could put in here speed, which is not very important on him because he gets to go out of turn a lot and gets lots of turn meter from people evading on the other side or your team taking damage. But you definitely don't want, when you're going against evasion teams, for them to evade his attack, because if they evade his attack, he's pointless. He's got to make sure he still hits the targets that are trying to evade. So the 12% accuracy is great. It's almost a complete direct counter to any evasion buff that you're going to get across the way. So that is good. The secondary stats are not that good, but that's okay. And then for the hollow array, I put in protection because I did not have on this bottom left data bus any protection really for a primary stat. I went ahead and added this as a protection primary stat. Now normally I tell you put critical chance or critical damage. If I had a protection for the data bus, I would have probably put critical damage just to make sure he's punching for as much as he possibly can. But since I didn't have the protection on the data bus, I went ahead and added it to the hollow array. It does give him some more speed, another +8 speed, and some more critical chance and some more health. So this is a decent mod here for sure. And then on the bottom right, of course, potency on a potency mod. You gotta love that when you have a potency mod with +21% potency. It is a 4-dot mod, that's why it's only 21% potency instead of 24. It does give him almost 5% critical chance, which is pretty crazy. I definitely have a couple of characters that might benefit a little more from this mod than him, but for the sake of modding him up and getting his potency up, I wanted some good potency sets on him. So let's go ahead and see where all these stats take him. I like this down here because it really shows. Of course, he's a tank, so his strength's high. Although you've seen some of the other tanks I have, it's not even at 1,000. So again, he's kind of average on everything. And by the way, with all of his abilities, He's, fifth in resistance, which out of all the characters in the game, fifth in resistance isn't bad. But most of all the stats, he's right in the middle. He's really not amazing or crappy. He's just kind of right in the middle, average for most everything. The only stat that he really excels in naturally is he's the number one character in the entire game with natural tenacity. His tenacity starts at 39%, which is the highest tenacity in the game for a base stat of tenacity. So that's pretty cool as well. I do like the fact that he has tenacity, but his attacks and abilities are where it's at. So his health and protection combined for me after all of these mods are right around 54,000, which for health and protection. When I have a Sunfac who's at 72,000, so you can see he's not really a very tanky tank. Most of my tanks are between 60 and 70,000 for the tanks that I use. I think the only tank that's lower than him in my lineup is Stormtrooper Han. He's a lot weaker. He's only around 45,000 between both, I think. But you can see I got 28 speed added, which is a decent increase. So he's 133 on speed, although like I said, speed's less important on him because he's going to be able to go out of turn a lot. Critical damage, not as important. Potency, almost 96% potency. That is important because on his mow down, which is his AoE, his special, and on his basic, he's going to be trying to apply negative status effects. And so you definitely want to make sure that his potency is high as possible. Always the RNG is going to give a 15% chance of them not having a negative status effect applied, even if you're at 100%. But to get it as close to 100% as possible to definitely make sure that he applies it. Now, any potency over 60% is really sufficient, especially for entry-level to midline players. Once you get to the highest end and you start seeing teams that are, boosted with tenacity, you want to make sure you overcome their tenacity the majority of the time. So I see a lot of Emperor Palpatines over 100 or at 100%. A potency. And so the same thing applies with the B2 to make him efficient, get him high on potency. Now, like I said, I think anything over 60% is probably going to work sufficiently for you. His tenacity, I really didn't set a whole lot to it. It's 6% increase, which the tenacity now is at 45%. He does have health steal, kind of an average health steal, which means all the damage he does, he gets some of it back in health, 10%. So that's not horrible at all. His physical damage is pretty average at around 2,000 base damage. His physical critical chance is about a third of the time. Now I did increase that by almost 12% through the secondaries, and so he only crits about once every 5 shots, but now it's about once every 3 shots. So that's good because he's going to get to go a lot, and so he'll get more opportunities to crit. I did put an accuracy mod on, so of course he's got physical accuracy, which means he's going to ignore 12% of the opponent's dodge. And then of course it applies down here as well. It ignores the amount of the opponent's deflection. So deflection, dodge is kind of the same thing, except for dodge goes against physical damage and deflections, the special damage, the special offense. And so the accuracy applies to both sections, so that's good. As far as his armor, for a tank, it's not super high, but it's also not bad. I've got it starts around 30%, and I've got it about 32%, so that's not bad. And then the rest is nothing to write home about for sure. His resistance, again, is kind of like armor. It's around 27%. So not bad. So I want to go ahead and take this B2 battle droid on a test drive against an evasion team. Hopefully there's an Obi-Wan team that's crept their way into the top 3 or top 4. So we have someone to go against to kind of showcase him. So let's go ahead and go into the squad arena. And there is one right in the middle. Now this is a pretty powerful team we're going against. So I have no idea how we're going to turn out. Now I do have a really powerful AoE team, so I don't know how long this battle is going to last, but it is a dodge team, so we should... Oh man, let's look for another. Hope we can find an Obi-Wan lead. Okay, there we go. All right, so go ahead and taunt, do an AoE. Let's see, who do I want to take out? Let's go ahead and take out Rey. She does a lot of damage. Now, do you see he gets to go? He got turn meter because she dodged one of those attacks. So we're going to go ahead and do mow down and see how many of them get buff immunity. 2 of them. So I said 2 to 3 normally get buff immunity. Now that's really, really cool. Now your AoE's a hit all the characters, but I was laughing because one of the guys that watch my videos say, I like to target certain people on AoEs. I do too. I enjoy clicking on the one I hate the most and then doing the AoE. And then we want to do evasion down so I can just shoot this guy. And you see he gets to go a lot. My team is very, very fast with Wedge and Biggs, as well as the Lando lead, giving him 15 plus speed. So my team is, everyone's in the 200s, and yet B2 has gotten to go more than all of them. So again, if they evade, he's going to get a turn, and he just put evasion down, so now he's going to get hit. Wow. We can take someone out. Let's try and take out the Royal Guard. Let's do evasion down. Wow. So see, they can't evade. They have to take it. We'll do mow down to try and apply buff immunity to all of them. We got 1 buff immunity. That's not bad, especially since it's over Obi-Wan. And why not? We'll do Biggs' special to take him out. 2 dodges, and he did not get turn meter for the 2 dodges that time. And we'll go ahead and take out Royal Guard. And we'll do evasion down. So now he's got evasion down. Now Obi-Wan, who normally is evade king, is going to get hit. And he's going to get hit until he's dead. So that is the direct counter to an Obi-Wan lead, a Luminara lead, Dooku lead, any other evasion type team. He's also going to be the direct counter to the new Shore Trooper, or anytime you go against multi-tank teams. This is an excellent character. Again, my overall rating is a Galaxy rating of 4. However, he's like some of those characters that are a 4-star. They're much better than the rating really states. It's just not everybody can be a 5-star character in the game. He's somebody you'll want to develop mid to end game for sure. You'll need him in your lineup, and he is super fun to play and gets a lot of extra turns. As always, make sure you go through all of my playlists. Look at my previous videos. If you like these in-depth character reviews, you can always make suggestions. I just got an individual who asked me for this 2 days ago, so I went ahead and made the video for them. I know this is a fun character, so I was happy to be able to do this character review. And as always, have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. Keep your gaming on. Warrior out.